this is what's expected in order for us to make those gains that were necessary to get to that goal of 100% proficient readers. So.
Thank you.
I'm Jen Renaitis. I teach 7th and 8th grade science here at Baylane, and I have the opportunity to lead our college and career community culture at Baylane, so ECP ties there. To support our proficiency as well, we know that proficiency leads to success post-secondary, and we do try to promote that more with some of the activities we're doing at Baylane. So we have things like the Career Cafe, staff bios, College Wear Wednesdays. So these are initiatives to kind of show students what opportunities are if they're post-secondary. And just as a side note, if anyone would like to help participate and support this, we do have College and Career Cafe coming up where you can attend as a speaker and present to students. Or if you're willing to fill out a staff bio, you can let us know what it is that you've done and how you achieve those goals.
All right, our second staff commitment is that we're capable of fostering proficient readers, and that also ties back to Hattie's research. If it's a 0.4 effect size, it should have a positive impact on student learning. Our first commitment was a 1.62, and this second one is an effect size of 1.57. And Hattie calls it collective teacher efficacy, and that is the perception that a group of educators have about their capacity to influence student learning. So that means we believe we're capable of getting students to where they need to be, and we believe the students are capable of getting there. So now you're going to hear from two more team leads and how their work aligns with this staff commitment.
Hi, I'm Nancy Dorr. I'm a 7th and 8th grade Project I teacher, and I'm the lead for the engagement committee, which is looking at parent engagement, student engagement, and employee engagement. And one of the big initiatives that we're working on this year is called a Sandbox PD opportunity, where staff actually suggest, lead, and help support the innovative practices that are going on in the building. And so each month, myself and another staff member look down at what the staff is asking for professional development related to whether it's their SLO or their PPG within the building, or to help further student understanding and help with student engagement. And then it's offered each month as a different sign-up as an optional PD session for staff to attend and lead, and we've had some great opportunities on Thursday mornings once a month, and the feedback has been awesome on just being flexible in the learning that's going on in the building.
Hello again. In addition to the PD that we have on Thursdays, we've also had the opportunity to attend AVID training. AVID really allowed some of us from different content areas to look at strategies and implementation practices for teaching students comprehension strategies and different ways to organize reading and text so that they have that opportunity to foster that learning and use it in the future.
All right, our last staff commitment is that we will use results to drive our work. And that comes from Hattie's research. She has mind frames, and he's suggests that our fundamental tasks in schools is to evaluate the effect of our teaching on student learning, and suggests a shift in focus to consider assessment being more about our impact than a deficit in students. And then a team at Baylane, some of our teachers here also went to a PLC conference this summer where DeFore talks about how our professional learning communities are most effective when results drive our work. So our PLCs are focused on results, and each of these teams is gathering data throughout the year towards our INGO measures so that results drive our work. And now you're going to hear from three more of our INGO leads.
I'm Kimberly Crosby. I'm the math coach at Baylane. One thing that Rachel said was that we use all the results for driving our work. We wouldn't be able to do our teamwork if we wouldn't have any sort of way to track its effectiveness. So each team that is put together at Baylane has their own, we call it a data dashboard, and they have their own dashboard where they track their own data. So for example, for the ACP committee, they'll track the number of students that are participating in the College Wear Wednesdays and the number of staff members that have our staff bios up. For our growth committee, we're tracking student growth on STAR, as well as we're tracking their growth by specific groups, and so Stacy will talk more about that. Couple other pieces of information that we've tracked is formative and summative assessments. And so as a grade level and as a content group, they have common formative and some have common summative assessments. And so they will meet on Wednesday mornings, bring their assessments with them, and they will look at those together and try to figure out and strategize as a team what they can do to improve student learning.
Hi, I'm Stacy Malik, school psych here, and I'm a co-lead with Kim for our growth team. So while one team is looking at reading proficiency, we wanted to make sure that we weren't losing sight of student growth. So our team looks at building overall as well as grade level specific SGP or student growth percentile. And our goal for this year is for all students to be achieving an SGP of 50. We also look at individual subgroups. So we have up here some of the highlights for you. For some of our students who have been identified with disabilities or students who have IEPs, the average SGP is a 49, which we're excited about. For students who are in reading intervention, we have broken it down by grade level. So you can see there that every grade level is above the 50 goal of SGP, which if you keep in mind that those are students we've already identified as having reading deficits, those are some really exciting numbers to see that much growth. And then finally, when we look at our advanced learners in reading, they're also achieving at almost our goal of 50 by the end of the year.
Hi, my name is Kim Nordley, and I teach 6th grade here at Baylane, and I'm also the lead of our PLC team, or our Professional Learning Community team. As Rachel mentioned, a group of us this summer had the opportunity to attend a 3-day conference all on PLCs and understand the benefits of an effective PLC. Our team's goal really is to support teachers in their work in their PLCs. We help them follow norms, create agendas, and utilize common formative assessments. We know that if teachers are using common formative assessments to drive instruction, we really are one step closer in meeting our school goal of all students reaching proficiency.
So that's an overview of structurally how we made big changes here at Baylane, how we were approaching our Eye on the Goal process, how we were dividing and sharing the opportunity with all teachers to participate on all of these teams. We do some of this work on our Green Days as a way that every staff member is engaged in making sure we're achieving our goal of 100% proficiency. You've heard from the leaders. There's 8 of them sitting here leading the work, but there are other teachers that are as passionate about the work we're doing to reach our goal of 100% proficiency, and we want you to hear from them also.
This year, more than any other year before, we in 8th grade have been working to expose our students to more challenging and more complex texts. It seems like for years now we've been really worried about focusing on giving them text that is at their level. We look for different level texts for articles for science or social studies or even in literacy class. And we decided that what we really need to do is have these kids read text at grade level or even above grade level, because that's what they're going to face in life, that's what they're going to face next year in high school. And you have to know how to get through challenging text, even if it's a little bit difficult.
But one of the great things that we're doing at Baylane is working with kids in small group instruction. We use their STAR score, which standards kids are performing at different levels on, observations that we as the professionals do in the classroom. Their TC levels use all of that information to create small groups that are very strategic, they're specific, they are fluid, we're constantly changing small groups so that kids are becoming more proficient in the areas that they need to work on.
We use the PBIF Linkit, and the students last year and this year helped to create the Matrix Art class. All the different settings like line out our different expectations, and I think it helps to clarify for students what to expect, and then also to create a creative environment that's also a strong place for them to feel comfortable and able to work together.
Sandbox this year is a new idea that we are trying at Baylane where teachers have a voice in proposing different ideas that they'd like to learn for professional development, and then as a staff, we get to choose which sessions we would like to attend based on our needs and what other peers have come up with.
Yeah, it's really nice to bounce ideas off each other. What are you doing in your class? What are you doing in your class? I'm an expert in this, so let me share what I know.
I was grateful for the 2 days of PE that I received from the AVID trainer. I believe that knowing the best reading strategies is definitely going to help students. When students can read, they learn.
It was really a lot of exposure to and practice with critical reading strategies and how to retrain yourself as an educator, but also how to help retrain your students. I think the biggest thing that I hope will impact students as readers is it gives them a lot of tools to use. And right now, we might be at the stage where we're prompting them to use those tools, but hopefully we're able to structure it in a way where when they're not prompted to do that, they can still use those tools themselves and be successful as they move throughout their education.
This school year, we've been using our professional development green days as an opportunity to work with our building level students. And this time just seems to be a lot more meaningful. We're able to dive deep into student data, and in response to that data, we can immediately appropriate action plan to remedy it versus also putting out the having to do it separately or waiting for another 2 weeks.
On these green days have really helped our committees revise and reflect on their data that they've been collecting throughout the school year. And from all that information, we were able to really work together to create some resources and tools and increase student achievement here at Baylane.
I'm really happy with the new structure of our PLCs this year. We work on our SLO, we work on our PPG, we make common formative and summative assessments, we analyze them to see what students are doing well with and what they need extra help with.
The restructuring of PLCs has allowed myself and other Spanish teachers to focus on content-driven literacy. We are able to talk about literacy strategies, analyze data, and set goals that ultimately benefit students and their learning.
And now it's an opportunity for you to ask us any questions that we haven't answered with the presentation.
Go ahead.
I have a couple and then a comment. So on the Sandbox professional development, how do you put together the training? So, you get 4 great ideas and you want to meet those. What are your steps to get the training out?
So myself and Michelle Plowshine sit down once a month to go through what is requested by the staff, and then if it isn't having somebody say, I want to lead it, I'm an expert in this, we have reached out to administration and coaches to ask if they know of people in the building who are leaders in it, and then we seek out and ask them to put something together. And when the staff signs up, it has a description of what they're going to present. Sometimes it will say, this is just an idea share, and we're all kind of learning together, and I'm going to be the facilitator to navigate through that. But it's been an awesome chance for us to be able to pull resources, and then we actually archive them on a website so that if I were to be leading a session and I wanted to attend a session, I can still go and pull the resources and figure out who is leading it to seek out for more information and more help on it.
So this is new to this year?
This is new this year. This came out of our I Am the Goal Day of Dreaming, where we were really looking for a more flexible PD session, personalized to what the staff needed at that time. So there's been different sessions on love and logic, flipped lessons, formative assessments based on feedback that's been given to the PLCs, and different committee groups have reached out. So our PBIS team has said, hey, this is a need. Can we offer a session for those people that have placed this as a need? So we're trying to be responsive to both personal requests from teachers and from our committee work within there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the Avid presentation, was that someone that came in from the Avid group that presented to whom?
So this summer, Rachel and I went with a team of 3 Bay Lane teachers. The middle school went, Linda O'Brien took some teachers, and there were some high school people there. We went to Minneapolis in June. And then we've had Avid training. We had 2 days for a large group of people, and then another 2 days for another group of people, just this past December.
And thank you for the students sharing with us at dinner. It was wonderful.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for your presentation and all the time you put into it.
Thank you. And we're going to dismiss the teachers so they can go home. Okay?
Be careful, it's slippery.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item in the superintendent's report is just information regarding PI 26, which is really tied to ACP. You might recall a number of years ago a plan and a report that came forward to the board called Education for Employment. That is just something that, since 1985, that districts were required to do and then update those plans every about, I think, 5 years. There were some changes in that. ACP was part of that change. So that report or that plan that really is going to be driving our ACP process will be coming forward to the board later this year. So this is just so, kind of a primer to let you know that we will be looking again at the Education for Employment as it is specifically relates to ACP. And so that'll be coming forward toward the end of the year. The next item is to solicit 2 additional volunteers from the board to assist in the diploma distribution for graduation. Dean and Lisa, fabulous, okay. So,
refresh my memory on that date.
Oh, gosh. Jeff? June 10th, I think?
June 10th.
Yes, thank you.
Saturday, correct?
It is.
Correct.
1:30. Because we still have ACT testing in the morning, I believe. And then our standing contributions to the profession item concludes the superintendent report.
Moving on with other reports, President's Report. Just a reminder, there's some content on board docs about our self-evaluation survey. If you could each log in sometime between now and February 15th, actually why don't we say the 10th, that way we had it for a few days, and fill out the survey. It's essentially, we do this as our annual board self-evaluation. Once everyone fills it out, I'll compile the data and share it with all of you.
And I think you emailed us about this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, board member reports.
I'll just remind everybody, this week's the Education Convention downtown. Who's our delegate assembly representative?
Right next to you.
Mr. Buckminster? All right. Catch me when you get down there, hopefully we can have what else? Hope to see anybody down there.
Our district administration and myself will be doing a presentation on Thursday, 1:30?
1:45.
1:45. Again, padding it by 15 minutes, 1:30. If you'd like to come and lend your support. For you, Rick. Come and lend your support or just by being there. Echo, yeah, just not remarks. We may call on you from the audience, but yeah, it'd be great to see you guys down there if you can make it. Any other board member reports? All right. Clerk's report.
2 seats are up for election for 3-year terms beginning April 24th, 2017. Incumbents Chris Buckmaster and Bob Bowman have filed the important paperwork. No new candidates came forward. Therefore, there will not be a primary election.
All right. Thank you. There are no committee reports. Moving on to number 9, resolution action items. 9A, open enrollment allocation for 2017-18.
Motion to approve open enrollment seats allocations as follows.
Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Jeff, if you don't mind walking through.
So as required by state statute and also board policy, we need to present to you annually the projected open enrollment seats that we have by grade level. So before you, there are 4 documents that I've shared for your attention. Specifically, a brochure that DPI puts out relative to just general information around open enrollment process. Also, we have an open enrollment seat allocation that's found in a PDF in the public content, open enrollment for special education, and then lastly, the memo to the board. So with that said, I'd like to direct your attention to the memo because the memo specifically is, demonstrating for you the number of seats that we're recommending and at each respective grade level, and more specifically, the amount of open enrollment revenue that it has the potential to bring in. So this year in our system, the 2016-17 school year, we have 151 students that are attending our district through the open enrollment process. And in June, what we pay attention to is the number of open enrollment students that actually are exiting our system. So this year, in June of 2017, we will have 13 open enrollment students that will be exiting our system. If you put dollars and cents to that, it's $87,724 that's really exiting our system through graduation. Use the dollar amount of $6,748, which is the amount of money that we receive for full funding of an open enrollment student. So realizing that and taking a look at our projected enrollment for each one of our respective grade levels, kindergarten through 12th grade across our system, here's what we're recommending. For 2017-18, the number of seats that we recommend for the full dollar amount is 10, or the equivalent of $67,480. And again, each one of those seats would bring in additional revenue estimated at $6,748. We're also recommending 11 open enrollment seats for 4K. And if you recall, those get 60%, or those are funded at 60% for each seat, or roughly $4,048. So additional revenue of $44,536. When you take a look at, bringing those two together, if in fact we do fill those open enrollment seats, it could bring in a potential additional revenue of $112,016. The tables below in that memo will show you at the respective grade levels. So we're recommending 11 at 4K, and then we have 0 seats available in elementary, kindergarten through 4th, 0 seats available in middle school, and then we are projecting open seats 5 at 9th grade and then 5 at 10th, and then 0 for special ed. So with that said, I open it up for any questions that you might have.
My first question is, how many students do we have exiting to other districts from ours?
Open enrollment?
Yeah.
13.
No. Through open enrollment.
How many of our home students are leaving to other districts?
Over 100.
119 as of today.
119? Okay.
Since we're in the second Friday pupil count period right now.
Thank you. Now, do we ever use that as consideration as far as where that balance is on how many seats right now, this whole memo is based on what we had for open enrollment last year, but would those numbers fluctuate if all of a sudden we were having 110 students leaving? Would we be looking to accept more in, or do we just not play that into the equation?
Typically speaking, what we do is we look at the projected enrollment at each one of the respective grade levels. That is our primary influence and indicator as far as how many we are able to accept at each grade level.
For seats, available seats, just...
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Do we know where, for the open enrollment that, and you may not let us know, but for those who leave, those students who are in our district and open enroll somewhere else. Just curious where, I mean, do we have that? Yeah, I can see from somewhere to here, but I'm just curious as to where from here. So maybe down the road, if you could share that.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and actually, Jeff every year contacts open enrollment out to parents to determine, to gather information about why they're choosing to go out, to see if there's any trends or if there are things that we can do. We also share with them, like, new programs that we might have that might be interesting, that maybe encourage them to leave to somewhere else, but now we have. So those are conversations that happen also.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know. I'm just curious if they're looking for an art program or they're looking for a musical. It would be interesting to know.
Yeah. Typically, it's, and Jeff, you can share the most recent data, but...
Sure. The majority of the families that we contacted last year were leaving because of either childcare, and childcare was close to their place of employment. So it was a convenience piece for them, as opposed to anything else that would be a driver for us to change something in our system.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to 9B, School Resource Officer Contract Renewal. Here.
Looking for it. Got my pages mixed up. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Oh, I see, it starts on the bottom of one page. Motion to approve 2016-17 agreement with the Muskego Norway School District and the City of Muskego for the services of 3 resource officers as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So just as a reminder, annually, we, per the contract, let the Muskego Police Department know whether or not we're interested in continuing in August, but usually the negotiations for salary doesn't happen until sometime in the fall. Typically, we get a contract in December, so there's always a little delay.
So the percentages that we're paying have been constant, or have they changed?
No, they haven't.
So we pay a percentage of their full salary, or just the time that they're in school here? Because...
Percentage of
We 43.2%.
So then they work 1,000 hours a year? Okay, so I'm looking at, what am I looking at this wrong then? If you look on the bottom of that worksheet, page 3, and it's got their hourly rate, and it has hours, and it has 1,040 on all of them. Or is it supposed to be 2,040?
I'm guessing it's 2,040.
Or our share is 1,000.
Well, that's what I'm kind of confused, because neither number really works. Because 1,040 would come out to the gross pay, would be the same, would be the right number. It doesn't seem to add up.
What's your question again, Rick? I'm sorry.
Okay, so do you have that last sheet up?
Yep.
The worksheet?
No, I have their contract.
Okay, go to the last page of the worksheet where we come up with
They
the
went
dollar amount.
2,080.
Right.
We're looking at half a year for
16 and
2016.
17.
All
Half
right.
a year for
Okay,
2017.
that makes sense. I see. That makes, okay, thank you.
What I would be curious knowing is what this lump sum is.
Guessing it was a negotiation of the contract in lieu of a pay raise.
Is that what, are they putting that in there?
Because their pay didn't change from year to year.
I wonder if that is back pay for a settled contract. Could be, because I don't see any increase in 16. See how it's the same from 16 to 17?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's their increase. Okay.
And that'd be the only thing that would affect WRS, because it's only change. Oh, there's percentage differences too. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any other questions? Hearing Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to 9C, gifts, grants, and bequests.
Motion to accept with thanks donations as listed. Muskego High School cheerleading from the Muskego Cheer Booster Club, $1,636 for spirit wear. Muskego High School wrestling from the Muskego Wrestling Club, Inc., $4,720. Muskego High School girls swim team from the Aero Booster Club, $300 applied to transportation for travel to WIAA state tournament. And Muskego High School bands, Karen Hansen, Wayne Borchard Memorial, $250. Muskego Area Chamber of Commerce, $200. And Michael and Angela Pop, $250.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 10, discussion items. 10A, 2017-18 budget. Placeholder or more information today? All right. Any specific questions for the budget since it's on here? Hearing none, moving on to 10B, master planning update.
Okay, so just a couple of reminders. Our building advisory and core planning team agendas are available to the board through that administrative content link, so feel free to go online and look at some building renderings that were shared with the CPT last week. Just as a reminder, Anderson Group will be working with the district to sell the properties of Test Corners and Muskego Elementary. We waited to put signs up at the properties until after all of the holiday kinds of festivities are completed, so those signs will be placed on January 28th, unless, of course, we have a interested person prior to that. Would be nice. The next item is just a reminder about the CPT meetings that will include the subcontractor approvals. They are, I already did send invites for you, but Darlene will be posting those meetings, so you don't have to worry if more than 3 board members do attend. It will be a posted meeting. On January 3rd, the Muskego City Plan Commission approved both Mill Valley and the new middle school projects, and so just a couple of conditions were part of that approval. So at the new school, some additional screening of some of the rooftop mechanics, curb and gutters for the entry driveway, and some trees and shrubs and things like that. At Mill Valley Elementary, screening also some trees and things to block out some headlight, some lights and things like that. Jeff is working with teams at the school level to help with the transition planning for buildings that are merging and obviously with Baleen moving to a new school. So those things are happening. Any questions?
I have a statement. I just want to mention, I don't want to underscore just at the Plan Commission, Bray and C.G. Schmidt did an utter fantastic job. To actually have a project this size go through the Plan Commission within 40 minutes is unheard of. They had answers to every question. The issues here were addressed, and it was incredible. I've been on that commission for 13 years. I've not seen a development this large go through that smoothly. So hats off to Bray and C.G. Schmidt for their work. They clearly did their homework on this. So
I'm guessing the Public Service Committee meeting Monday will be longer than 40 minutes.
Well, that's your Public Works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought this is the sugar. That'll be the molasses for that. So, but no, but hats off to Bray.
Yeah, they're very strong partners.
Thank you to them. Yep.
So Mr. Schrader did bring that up. January 23rd is our Public Works meeting where your attendance would be welcomed, not just for a show of support. That meeting might get a little contentious. We're trying to negotiate with the city for some sort of water hookups one way or another, and we're on opposite ends of the spectrum at this point. So attendance there can't hurt.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock meeting, correct.
Okay.
At City Hall?
Yes, in the Alderman's room. Anything else on master planning? All right. Item 10C, student fees.
Julie?
So every year, we bring forward a recommendation for student fees, and in the past, since I've been here at least, we haven't increased fees, except for the Chromebook fee, which was established when we went with our one-to-one initiative. So I've included a couple of pieces of information for you. One is the school fee survey that goes out through southeastern Wisconsin. This year, we decided to just pull the Waukesha schools just to make it a little easier for comparison purposes, how we fare compared to others. So the school fee comp analysis is strictly like the Waukesha 11 districts that we compare ourselves to. And a couple new things have come about as we've been talking with DPI and got their opinion about whether we should or shouldn't be charging for a specific technology device, and it's of their opinion that we shouldn't be. So in the past, we were specifically charging for the Chromebooks because we had to be able to assign a fee to a specific student, because not all students district-wide were receiving those Chromebooks. Now that we are a one-to-one school, basically, and this really is kindergarten through high school, we feel that, based on DPI's opinion, we should not be charging the Chromebook fee, but rather institute a technology fee to support the supplies and other items associated with the technology that we have across our system. So right now, we charge a $35 fee for the Chromebooks, and we're looking at implementing or asking the board to consider a $20 technology fee across the system. So the Chromebook fee would go away, and instead, system-wide, we would have a $20 technology fee to cover the cost of basically our one-to-one as it exists. So, that being said, questions?
So how does that work? So you start getting Chromebooks when?
5th grade.
So 5th grade, so then that fee would go away?
Correct.
So then, right now, from 5th grade to 12th grade would pay that $35 fee? And what's being proposed is that from kindergarten through 12th grade, everyone would pay a $20 technology fee.
Correct.
So the question will be asked, what do the K through 5 families get for that $20 fee?
Prepayment on K through 4.
K through 4.
Support of the system.
But they're
Which one do you want to share?
So I guess.
Yeah, if I can add a little bit of detail there, the devices themselves that were assigned to students, we've replicated a near similar ratio at our elementary buildings, but it's a mixture. So they're not just Chromebooks, they are some iPads as well. We've kind of done away with the labs, so there's no more computer labs, which is kind of a nice thing. But we are in a one-to-one ratio across all elementary schools, so we don't send devices home, but certainly we do have devices assigned for that use. So I guess it's not like we're hoping to not just pay to play. We intend to have those devices available for students, but they're getting full access, and we're able to keep those ratios at that level, so staff aren't looking for cows. Carts on wheels. When we have that, usually those carts are pretty heavy, end up sticking in one classroom or maybe two, instead of being shared equally around the building. So we have those benefits of having enough access within the elementaries, but then also that's a nice lead into the 512.
Would the technology fee also cover the internet access, the wireless access?
Well, of course, it is included. All that happens by default, but there's more of, we've really come to realize is even though we still have the devices, we still print quite a bit. We have quite a few consumables, so there's that side of it as well. We are looking at being more efficient with how we manage our print services. So as you remember, this past year we did do a new copier contract for the district. We're also going to start pulling out local printers and putting in more centralized access as well. So that'll be at a reduced cost over time, hopefully. But, that's something that's going to take a bit of time. Julie and I are going to be working on that this spring, so can't wait. But yeah, to that question, it's internet, of course, included in that process, but more, I think, even some of the consumables that come with it.
Does the DPI require that we detail what consumable we're charging a fee for? So we could just, what we currently pay off the rate base we could just all of a sudden charge a fee for? I mean, that's in essence what we're doing here, right? So the Wi-Fi and the technology that we currently use, right, which every school does use, we would just now create a technology fee. And, okay, I was trying to understand how that goes. And then what do you do with the funds, I guess, that used to pay for, so if you paid for Wi-Fi on the tax base, say at a school, and now you do a technology fee, where do the funds go that were used to, I don't have to answer that now. I just, in theory, I'm just trying to process this a bit, so that's all. I don't need to answer it now.
Well, yeah, it's a quick answer to answer. Now, the fees, in my presumption, is that they've gone to the lease that we typically get, which is, they're paying down towards that lease, which is basically the acquisition of the hardware and content, and of course, we could say it goes towards internet. It's all coming from my technology budget.
I don't think the buckets are as segregated as it might seem, are they? They just pretty much, these go to the general fund and you pay your bills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as long as, I just saw as that if you ask us, it'll be a new fee, not for, I'm sure for 5th through 12, it's like, oh, it's not a bad fee, right? Because, but for now K through 4, it's like, what is this? And, because that's their first experience with fees, right? So, and I suppose if you can explain it that way, that's fine, okay? I mean, I'm in favor of fees that are for users and consumables, that's fine, not necessarily for capital items, so I would not be in favor of that, but, at all, but, so, okay.
So what happens if somebody says, I don't want to pay it? Free and equal education, I think our Constitution says, so.
We would push, we can't do anything like withhold grades or withhold diplomas, but we continue to.
So we tell them we can.
Letters, and you really can't withhold any transcripts or anything like that as a result, so.
I was just curious.
You could essentially have people saying, obviously, if there's a financial request, that's always considered, and fees are waived for people who really do struggle and need the support.
Yeah.
And so those are always considered on a case-by-case basis.
So essentially, the difference, what it would be under this is that the Chromebooks and other devices would stay at the schools from kindergarten through 4th grade, and then 5th grade they would be assigned a Chromebook?
Yeah, 5th through 12th would stay the same, K4 would stay the same also, there wouldn't be any assignment to take home.
So K through 4?
Right, yes.
Okay. So the way we have it right now, essentially they're paying for their Chromebook rather than the technology.
Yeah.
They've been given that little extra financial responsibility towards it specifically. What happens if a student breaks, what is no longer their Chromebook, but a school-assigned Chromebook?
So are you thinking more of a K4 perspective for that question?
No,
or
more of
5-12?
from 5th grade on.
We still have the optional insurance for families to take out. And
They're still responsible for it.
Yeah, and we do build in.
They're still responsible for that.
Okay, how do we make them, so example, let's say I have a kid that's assigned a Chromebook, they bring it home, it's not actually theirs anymore. It's now the schools that were essentially leasing, in other words, for lack of a better term.
I think we'd expect the same responsibilities on the students, and we'd have the same supports in place to be able to make repairs, but then also, we'd have to expect them to pay for those repairs as well.
Okay, I'm just wondering, how would we enforce that?
The student takes a book home right now, and they tear it up, they're responsible for that book. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's just, okay.
We have cost control measures in place too. Families are held from not having to pay large sums of money in the event of even a full loss. And that's to make sure that families aren't on the hook for really expensive repairs and or replacements of devices. So that's by buying parts in quantities and also having a supplier that can do repairs for us as well.
Okay. So it's just a big shift. I'm just trying to make sure we're going the right direction.
No, that's good.
A DPI opinion is essentially just an opinion, right?
Correct.
It is.
What they could do is essentially, could they take us to court if they wanted?
they don't take your
If
district's
we
support.
decided, no, we don't like your opinion?
If we didn't follow their opinion and it became enforceable, they could just withhold state aid from us.
You're going too far down the road on this.
Well, I'm just trying to get...
I just got one clarification. On K through 4, are there does every student have a Chromebook in the room?
No, it's general ratio. So it's not assigned to them permanently, that's just the accessibility of the devices is one-to-one.
So a class of 25 has 25 devices in the class?
Yes. In general, there are 300 students, there's 300 devices.
Okay, so because I guess probably came into that. So then there are there are Chromebooks, consumables in the room that a student will use K through 5, but they're not paying a Chromebook fee now because they're not bringing them home. Well then, okay. That bit of information I wasn't quite aware of. But then I understand. I have no
It's a
issue with
shifting fee,
the technology fee now because it's got it. All right, thank you.
Sure. That was sorry about that.
So.
Any other questions on this?
So we'll bring this back at our next board meeting for action.
All right, item 10D.
Oh, can I ask one more question
No.
about that? No. We still will have the ability for people to bring their own devices, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we have our open network, and that allows phones and devices. We encourage it because we can support and ensure every student has a device that's working, but we do have the flexibility to allow other students to
I've received good feedback on that too.
Good.
Anything else? All right, moving on. Item D, WASB proposed resolutions.
So the information is there for you, and thank you, Chris, for being the...
Just as a...
Going through them all and I'll vote appropriately.
No, let's go through each of them right now and tell them how to vote.
a lot of boards do.
Yeah. Well, this one.
Thank you, Rick. You have my voting.
Any specific thing that brought up interest, anyone that you'd like to bring to Chris's attention, contact him offline, please. Going on to item 10E, PAC stage curtains.
Julie.
Okay, so back in 2015, if you remember, we had $100,000 in Fund 80 that was non-levy dollars that we went to resolution for to move those monies for future PAC use. And at the same time, we also had Mr. Genau and Mr. Warner come forward with recommendations for replacing not only the soundboard, but replacing some of the wireless microphones and essentially adding to the microphones that were available at the PAC. So what I included in the board notes was Mr. Genau's 5-year plan for replacement of the large capital items that existed. So a lot of the items were still from when the PAC was first built, one of which is the stage curtains. So we are at kind of a crossroads, I guess, at this point, where the stage curtains are something that they do need to be either cleaned and fireproofed for a cost of $10,000 or replaced. And again, the curtains are original to the PAC. We did include 3 different quotes from different companies that provide curtains. The curtains that are now available for PACs or for any sort of production come naturally fireproofed, so they have the fireproofing built in. You don't have to have the spray which flakes off and all of that. If we didn't replace the curtains, we would be spending about $10,000 every 6 years to have them cleaned and fireproofed. So in talking with Mr. Genau, he had proposed or asked if I would have the board consider replacing the stage curtains. Again, the quote that we would go with is from Rose Brand. It would be $21,280. He currently has $12,000 set aside in his current budget, and we would ask the board to consider using or taking the remaining $9,200 from that original $100,000 that we had put aside. Again, that money can only be used for the PAC, and that would leave about $5,000 for future use. So again, do we spend $10,000 now and $10,000 again in 6 years, or do we spend $21,000 now and for the next 15 years have no cost to the stage curtains, unless something catastrophic happens where we'd have to replace them anyway.
How often do they have to be cleaned?
They clean them once every 6 years.
No, I mean the new ones. And at what
Oh,
cost?
the new ones? That's a great question. I'd have to ask Jen about that and get back. I'll bring that back at the next.
Yeah, if you could find out that in the cost of what cleaning.
Cost and cleaning, yep.
They just don't, so they have to be cleaned, the new ones would have to be cleaned, but they just don't have to be fired.
Right, and the fireproof is really the expense. So I'll get those numbers
Possibly.
for the
I
next
mean,
conversation.
it may be a material that doesn't accumulate dust as often either. I guess find that out, you know.
Julie, I'd also be interested if the current ones, if there's some sort of resale market for what's there.
That's a good question.
And John was going to be here, but he had another obligation. He had, I think of the committee that he's on.
That's fine.
Or the PAC, maybe.
Yeah, I think he had that meeting this evening, so he would come to the next meeting.
Do you have any idea how he plans on paying for the lighting system and the rigging system?
No, in fact, we did have a conversation about that. The rigging system, I think, is less of a need. It was just one of those, when we asked him to take a look at everything that's outstanding, that was one item that he wanted us to consider for future. The lighting system is pretty significant, and in order to replace the lighting itself, we'd have to have a new board. The boards are about $28,000 to $28,000, I believe, was kind of what I'm thinking those costs came in at. The lighting itself would be a gradual process because we'd be switching to LEDs. So the board is really the most essential piece. Once we have the board, we can gradually change the lighting just as we're doing within each of the school buildings. As we have money, we would replace those. Again, with the lighting also, he's going to start looking at pricing some of that out. We'll be looking at focus on energy grants too, as we change up the lights.
Weren't we just told that that expired at the end of last year? That's why we just did them in the high school?
I thought it was one more year,
Oh, okay.
but I could be wrong.
Right.
But anyway, so we don't have a proposal at this point. It would have to be a slow process because we only have about $12,000 in capital funds within the PAC budget annually to support those types of needs.
Well, when it comes time to do 4 and 5, I'm not interested in using capital dollars other than his own PAC funds, since we've already spent we will have spent $100,000 in basically capital money on soundboard and wireless microphones, and now stage curtain.
Yeah, there may be something to, if that's the path we want to take, make that known now. So, you know, in 2 years when they have 2 years to fundraise or to do whatever to get it, and then maybe at that point see where they are. But, I mean, yeah, because if this is the remaining items of this plan, and if we'd like to see what they could do money-wise between now and when they need this, they should probably know that. Yeah.
And I'm not going to echo what Mr. Schrader just said. I'm not against putting money into this, but I don't want it to be a disproportionate amount to what we're spending in other areas. And we just replaced the gym floor at X amount. Obviously, it's a classroom and more students are using that than here, but I'm not against using some funds. I just don't want the percentage of kids that are using it versus the investment. So it has to be something proportional. I don't want to ignore the area either. So. Any other comments, questions? Slide remarks? All right. Next meeting, you're going to bring this back as more discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and I'll be bringing back the resale cost, potentially how much we could get to resale, how often we would have to clean, and the cost of cleaning the new.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10F, 4K contracts. I believe that's Mrs. Kelly again.
Me as well, and actually I just, there was a question about the charges, or the per student amount that we have historically been charged over the years, and so I'm just going to add one more document for you because I pulled that together. But every year, we do bring forward to you the 4K contracts. It's an annual contract. And we have 5 different campuses that we contract with, so Discovery Days Wind Lake and Discovery Days Muskego, Little VIP Kids Campus in Marion Linsmeyer. One thing with the contract right now is we always put in a per student amount, and it's somewhere between a 1.5% and 2% increase, but because we don't know what the state budget looks like, we wanted to write the contract language as an amount not to exceed, and then once we get closer in our budget discussions, have the board approve the per pupil amount at that time. We also have changed within those contracts the start date, as we have the early start and early release happening, so those changes were made as well. Let me just see what I did with this. Were there any questions on 4K while we're looking for this document? So what we're looking at is about a 2% increase every year. And I am including, there it should be a 4 docs for you now, the dollar amounts that we have since the implementation of 4K, which was 2011, 2012. I labeled the document history. So you will see in 2015-16, we didn't have a fee increase, so we kept the fee what we were paying the year before. And then we did increase again about 2% this year, or in 16-17. So what we'd be looking for is a recommendation moving forward. We'd be looking to build in a 1.5% to 2% increase as costs go up for the overall program. We want to be able to provide the providers with a per student amount equal to what could be inflationary costs. But again, without knowing the state budget, this time I don't feel comfortable making a recommendation as to what that looks like.
Are all the contracts for each facility the same?
They are exactly the same with the exception of their
Names. All right.
With the exception of what?
the name. Yeah, we used to have a different facility that we contracted with that we no longer do. That was a different dollar amount.
Yeah.
But that, we no longer contract with them, and these are all the same.
Okay. Do we get any feedback from them as far as like this time of year of, okay, we're coming up for renewal, we want to see this?
We have it in the contract as February 1st, but they give us flexibility based on when the board meetings are. But we try to do it now because there was a significant change in what we were paying, the per student amount. They want to know that in advance in case they didn't want to continue. We also, like, given what we're going through right now with starting school early and ending early, we want to be able to give them opportunities to make those adjustments. And then we also met with one of the companies today that does our before and after school care, and also our summer camp. And because of the contract, or the construction that's going to be happening, they're going to probably be using test corners over the summer for their camp. They don't know that for sure yet, but they have to have those buildings licensed because they don't currently use those, so it just takes them a little bit of time to go through their processes. So having it done this time is very helpful to them.
Where they used to be? Here? Where were they
Yes,
before?
here.
Before Lake Danoon?
Before Lake Danoon, they were moved.
They were here.
Here, yeah.
That's a whole separate contract, isn't it?
Those
The-
are separate
yeah.
contracts, right.
And those are, how long are those contracts?
Those are annual as
Okay.
well. Again, with these contracts, the one thing that kind of has come up through conversations is just struggling to keep some of our staffing consistent at each of the 4K sites. And so we are thinking about and looking for your opinion on if we want to incorporate some sort of requirement as to how much staff are paid or what our expectations are for how they're utilizing some of those dollars within the contract, just to try to help with staff retention and keep some of the payments consistent. I think across each of the daycare sites it is inconsistent, and so we do find turnover in some of those positions as well. So looking for some direction from the board in that capacity.
I wouldn't mind adding in here that they have to provide us what their pay and benefits package is. Not that, I'm leery about going and telling them how much they have to pay their employees. In any spectrum across there, what you're paying someone doesn't always equal out to the type of work you get and the type of person you get. There's other tangibles in every workplace. But putting our standards into it, but I don't know how you quantify all of that, besides basic licensing. I think we already are part of the hiring process with it, aren't we? I mean, as far as sitting down and interviewing and...
Yes, we do sit in on interviews.
And how much say do we have in that? So do we have veto power?
Yeah, I think it's more of a guidance than a, I mean, at the end of the day, if we're short on people available and they need to get somebody in to be able to service us through what contract they've signed with us, they're going to put somebody in.
Right.
But it has been collaborative. I know that Dawn
very
Ayers spends a lot of time on those interviews, so.
I mean, we've all worked at places that you couldn't pay me enough to be there, and I worked for someplace else for a lot less money just to be, it just doesn't, putting pay into, plus it crosses that line of, how much these are truly our employees then anyway.
True.
Well, and we don't like, as a board, we don't like mandates that come down on us, so I don't think we should be handing them mandates.
If anything, I'd rather put some kind of pay incentive into the contract for retention. If they're able to keep somebody for X amount of years, they get a bonus on what they're getting per student or something like that. That would be of more interest to myself, because then let the private sector be more creative on how they're going to achieve that. And it would be getting the same goals for us, and they may look at it, well, maybe we just pay them more. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's more flex time. I don't know, but those are just my thoughts. I don't know if anyone else wants to weigh in on that, but.
I'd certainly like more information.
Yeah, at the very least, I think having that part of the contract that they got to feed us back that data, and what we do with it is up to us. But I think we can at least use it for future contracts to be looking at. Okay, this place pays a lot less, and surprise, they're the ones that have all the turnover, or maybe there is no correlation. So it might help us going forward.
Okay.
Any other information that you'd like, Lisa, other than pay, benefits?
No, I think I agree with Rick. I mean, it's hard to say where we want to go until we know
Where we're
what's
at.
going, is there a cause and effect or isn't there? And I like the idea of some creative thought processes after we know.
I'm surprised they must be getting more comfortable with you guys, because they used to be here every year. They'd be sitting in the back of the room. Of course, we're on the internet now, so they can watch from home.
Okay. Thank you. I'll bring back the information. Thank you.
Anything else on 4K before we go on? Bob, you look like you got something to say about it. Sure. Sure? Moving on to 10G, proposed 2017-18 board meetings.
So
important part of the night.
Yes, so please take time to look at how we've structured the board calendar for next year. It's modeled after the last 2 years. One thing I would like you to take note of, we did think it might be a good idea to move the annual meeting from the PAC to room 243. So over the next couple of weeks, when, before we meet again on February 6th, if there's some things that we should consider about that, we just think it might be a little bit more intimate setting rather than being so far removed from the community. So
I like that idea.
Well, and it's so much more convenient for the high school to not have to set 2 different areas.
With starting the school year earlier, does the August 28th meeting work for you guys? For administration?
Yeah, the following week, that following Monday should be just fine.
It's the day before my 50th birthday.
Oh, another party.
And good job, it doesn't conflict with the national championships for basketball or football.
Check the important things on the calendar.
Because it seems like every year before I mentioned that, it hit every time.
We hit it right.
Unfortunately, we do not have the Packers Monday night schedules yet for next year, so.
Why don't you send the Packers this schedule?
Yes, I think that's the NFL, but I'm sure the Packers would accommodate, but the NFL sets their
I'll try to
schedule.
get a
So this will come back for an action item on February 6th.
Just one meeting in December, I see.
Yes.
We always do it.
So you can get your holiday cards out on time.
All right, anything else on the board meeting schedule? Hearing none. Item 11, information follow-up. 11A, MNS Center for Health and Wellness Update. I've been waiting all night for this.
Again, just information, we are up to, in the month of November, we've had 120 visits, so again, we're starting to see the usage increase significantly. And again, we'll continue these monthly and bringing back the more financial implications of the clinic and the benefits that we're seeing when we come forward in May or June.
What are the hours right now at the clinic?
Mondays, they're open 7 to 1, Wednesdays 9 to 6, and Fridays 7 to 1. We're starting to see a lot of, a survey is done at the end of every appointment, and we're starting to see a lot more requests for evening appointments. So we'll see after a year how things are kind of filtering through.
All right. 11B, financial report, there for everyone's purview. And 11C, personnel information memorandum is the same thing. Any other requested information follow-up? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I heard 2 moves. Was one of those a second?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, we are adjourned at 8:32. Thank you.
Thank you.